Hey everyone, today we are taking a look at the gaming performance of an RTX 5060 mobile in 15 games at 1080p, and in today's video the laptop I'm using runs this GPU at around 70 watts TDP, so a 100 watt RTX 5060 mobile will perform a bit better and a 15 watt version will perform a bit worse. Today's laptop is a 16-inch Tulpar T6 3.5, which is combined with a pretty beefy Intel Core i7 14700HX and 32GB of DDR5 5600 MB transfer RAM. And if you want, you can of course check out my full review of this laptop afterwards. All videos have been recorded via a capture card at 1080p to minimize or neutralize any performance loss. And with 8GB of VRAM, it definitely is a Full HD card. Oh, and by the way, today's video is sponsored by Hubwood. You know, sitting all day while gaming or working really messes with your body if you don't have a good chair, especially when you're spending hours in front of the screen. Maybe not when you're 22, but trust me, that day will come. That's why today we're checking out the Hubwood E3 Pro, an ergonomic chair that actually takes your back seriously. It is sleek, breathable, and still looks awesome, whether you're gaming, streaming, or just working. You can grab it in light grey, black, or even a subtle pink if that's your vibe. This feels like a proper grown-up upgrade. It just looks clean and modern, and it actually delivers when it comes to ergonomics. No RGB, no plastic wings, just smart design and comfort that lasts through long gaming sessions. But check this out, the E3 Pro features Hubwood's floating lumbar support system. The world's first with self-adjusting side wings that literally move with your back, keeping you supported no matter how you sit. It is paired with a full mesh seat and backrest, so even during marathon sessions, you're not sweating into fake leather. And check this out, 6D armrests, meaning you can move them up, down, forward, backward, sideways, and even rotate them about 70 degrees to perfectly match your keyboard or controller setup. The 4D headrest adjusts in every direction and follows your posture. Super useful when you lean back for a break after a long match or stream. Plus, and this is awesome, there's even a built-in footrest and up to 140 degrees of recline. So yeah, perfect for quick power naps or just chilling between rounds. Whether you're grinding ranked matches, watching a movie, or just scrolling through Reddit, this chair adapts to you. It is also certified by major ergonomic institutes, so it's not just marketing talk, it's backed by real testing. So if you want real comfort without that over-the-top racing chair vibe, the Hubwood E3 Pro honestly is a slick, breathable and properly ergonomic upgrade. Your back will thank you, your aim might improve and your setup will just look cleaner overall. If you want to check it out, I'll leave the link below, and yep, there's even a discount waiting for you. Just use my codes in the description for a discount when checking out. And now, without further ado, let's just jump right into the games, which have actually been tested in a way that I would personally play them using this laptop. First game for today will be Assassin's Creed Shadows, which is a very demanding game GPU-wise. While it is usually running very stable and with little to no stuttering at all, it really tanks your GPU. At 1080p with high settings and DLSS set to balanced, I saw a playable average of 66 FPS and very good 1% loss of 51 FPS. As a third-person action adventure, 60 FPS plus is of course fine in general. If you want, you could also make use of frame generation in this case. Higher settings could be an issue with the VRAM in the long run. And I think personally I would play it exactly like shown here. A 100 watt RTX 5060 will surely give a few more FPS extra in that case. The brand new Anno 117 seemed to work pretty okay at 1080p with high settings and DLSS transformer set to quality. 66 FPS on average and 1% loss of 49 FPS. While performance will most likely drop in late game scenarios, I'm not 100% sure about that, though in this case the 5060 is paired with a pretty strong CPU and 32GB of RAM, which will most likely help a lot. Definitely enjoyable, no problem so far, but again, I can't speak for the late game performance. For R graders, I went with 1080p, epic settings and DLSS transformer on quality. Transformer in particular looks fantastic on a laptop display anyway. This resulted in an average between 100 to 125 FPS. Here you can clearly see the 5060 mobile hovering around roughly 70 watt. And the temperatures stay very solid, so despite running on Unreal Engine, this plays absolutely butter smooth. As far as I can tell so far, the game is just very well optimized. For Clair Obscur Expedition 33, yes, go ahead and judge me, actually used frame generation by 4 for once, simply because the game isn't real-time action-based and still feels totally responsive. Combined with 1080p high settings and DLSS set to native resolution, so no upscaling, it averaged around 170 FPS. The displayed 1% lows can be ignored, they correspond to the base frame rate. And yeah, it played beautifully. Cyberpunk 2077 was perfectly playable using 1080p native and ultra settings, while DLSS was turned off completely. Still 76 FPS on average with 1% loss of 52 FPS. So neither upscaling nor fake frames here. And it's still playable at ultra. The game is both pretty demanding for the CPU and the GPU, while the RTX 5060 mobile definitely remains the major bottleneck here. If you wanted, you could easily achieve 120 FPS or more with some upscaling, lower settings or frame gen. Not a lot to see in Elden Ring at 1080p with maximum settings. Basically as good as it gets with a stable 60 FPS hitting the game's, 60 FPS cap. I saw good 1% lows of 55 and they indicate almost no FPS drops below 60 and no hiccups, etc. Most likely even good enough to play the game at 1440p with these settings instead. So I'd say let's just jump right to the next game instead. In Fortnite I was testing high settings in combination with DLSS on quality at 1080p, resulting in a solid average of 133 FPS with 1% loss of 79. I mean, lots of headroom for higher FPS here, if you prefer that. You could also use the performance mode, of course. I guess I'd personally play it like that nonetheless, it just looks better, though currently the game has the Simpsons-like shaders and looks activated, so I'm not 100% sure if it will perform identical in future seasons. Forza Horizon 5 was behaving pretty odd. It usually runs perfectly smooth, but on this system it gave me microstutters every few seconds, which effed up my 1% lows. While the average FPS have been alright with 143 FPS for 1080p and ultra settings in combination with MSAA by 2. I'm assuming this is a problem of the specific laptop. I still wanted to include it to give you an idea of the average FPS at ultra. And it should work without any stuttering at all on basically any system. Just couldn't figure out what the issue was here. For the GTA 5 Enhanced Edition, I was actually using the Ultra Ray Tracing preset with DLSS on quality for a maximum visual experience. And well, I still got a very good 94 FPS on average and decent 1% lows of 64 with a pretty smooth frame time graph. I mean, just look at that. Lots of headroom for more FPS or even better graphics here, I'd say. I know it is an older game, but the Enhanced Edition is a bit more demanding, and I mean ray tracing on Ultra, it absolutely makes sense here. Great stuff. I was giving Helldivers 2 a spin at 1080p with high settings and no upscaling, meaning we are at 1080p native here. 79 FPS on average and superb 1% loss of 69 FPS for this round. Admittingly, a pretty boring round on easy mode, but it's a bit easier to benchmark that way. However, no worries here. If you need more FPS for that game, you can either use medium settings or use some resolution scaling or even both. But I think 60 FPS plus should be okay in this title for most people, and feel free to let me know in the comments if you disagree and why. Even medium settings is a bit risky for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle on an 8GB VRAM card. Always keep in mind there could be severe performance drops or even crashes after a while, which I personally experienced on other 8GB systems. However, I didn't see any in my benchmark run here at 1080p with medium settings and DLSS on quality. 88 to 107 FPS on average, depending on the current zone, and 1% loss of around 65 to 76, and that is of course pretty perfectly playable. But well, it's medium settings, so to be honest, I kinda expected that and it should be mandatory. In Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, with high settings, DLSS transformer on quality, and at 1080p, it reached a full 108 FPS on average with very good 1% lows of 82. Hard to ask for more. You can certainly play without upscaling here as long as the small VRAM is able to keep up. And I'll never get tired of praising how insanely well optimized this game is. Just really, really good. Again, temperatures for both GPU and CPU stayed very solid even after 15 minutes. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 is a bit weird to benchmark since it depends a lot on the map, the RAM, the CPU, the GPU, basically everything. Multiple bottlenecks hitting at once. However, flying over Paris at 1080p with high settings and DLSS set to quality, I saw an average of 53 FPS and, well, 1% loss of 22, but the game tends to give you some stuttering in the beginning, which is usually getting a bit better after a while. I mean, I know it's not perfect, but the game is in general so slow that it's okay to have less than 60 FPS. Well, at least for me. I know I can't speak for you, but I mean, you could try medium settings or stronger DLSS instead, or just don't use Paris as a benchmark map, maybe, whatever. And well, the Oblivion remaster was a bit weird as well. I started with high settings at 1080p, but then quickly changed to medium settings because otherwise I would get drastic performance drops from around 100-ish FPS to 20 or 30 FPS. So again, VRAM issues even at 1080p and only high settings. Well, tech people have been complaining and preaching about this for years now, and it's clearly happening right now. 8GB VRAM are not enough for Full HD and high settings anymore. Pretty sure that in some occasions, even medium could be problematic. However, at 1080p and medium, I saw 86 on average, 1% lows were pretty bad with 28 FPS. Well, next game. And last but not least, Warzone. Call of Duty Warzone. 1080p balanced preset, not sure if that is actually a bit different on different systems, but this game's graphic menu is more confusing than the Facebook or Instagram security option menus, and so, to be honest, I don't care. Again, balanced preset, DLSS on quality, FrameGen was turned off, and well, it obviously ran good enough to grant me 8 kills. And who am I kidding? They are obviously letting me play against bots, I mean really easy bots. 140 FPS on average with 1% loss of 69, I really can't complain here, and the regular multiplayer part of Call of Duty Black Ops 6 should just run identical. I can't say anything about Black Ops 7 though, because well, I don't have it, so well, that's that. So, I gotta be honest with you, overall I am a bit undecided. In general, this 70 watt version does give us good performance per watt and everything. I just have the feeling that the VRAM issue is becoming more serious. I mean, I would accept this for a 5050 mobile, which is the cheaper entry-level model where 8GB are fine. But here, for laptops that cost more than $1,000, I don't know. It's just a bit unsatisfying. I mean, it totally depends on what you expect and the games that you want to play with, sure. And most of the games that exist and ones from the past should work okay or even great. It's just the missing future-proofness that I'm missing here. Like, right now, we are at the brink of 8GB being or becoming too small. And what really annoys me about this is that the cards actually are fast enough to play with higher settings. They are just held back by the small VRAM. For most games, you could actually use these high or ultra settings if it wasn't for the limitation of the VRAM. They are fast enough for that. So stop making 8GB cards for that kind of money. And that's all for today's video. If you've enjoyed the content, make sure to leave a like or even subscribe to the channel for more laptop stuff, mobile GPU comparisons and benchmarks, mini PC and gaming handheld reviews. Thanks for watching, see you next time, bye bye and tschüss.